There's a lot of questions right now around how to do inclusion. And the thing about how to do inclusion is, there's books and there's approaches and there's many things that you can do. But what I really realized is that if we don't know why we're doing it, we lose the goal. We lose the goal. And so when I was kind of exploring this for myself, and I'll tell you what happened. I went to go see Dan Habib, Dan, at the conference in Vancouver. And I was like, Dan, how do I do this? I'm working in a high school with kids and they're not included. What do I do? And he says to me, he's like, whoa, Shelly, stop. Like, why is this work important to you? And I'm like, because it's important. It's human rights. He's like, well, that's why it's important in general, but why does this matter to you specifically? And I couldn't answer it in the moment. And it really bothered me because I was like, why does this matter to me? And when I kind of thought back, because I really reflected on this and I'm just like, why does this matter? I was reminded of some key points in my life that I'm going to share with you because I think this is a worthwhile practice for all of us to be like, why does this matter? So the first moment I'm going to take you to is grade 3. There I am. How many of you had the lasers? I think we all did. This is the 80s, people.
I couldn't get my parents to spring for the laser.
Really? I don't think we had an option. Let's be real. So there I am, my little dimple, so cute. I probably cut my own bangs. You know how we roll. But the reason why I thought of grade 3 is because I grew up in Alberta and grade 3 was the year in Alberta where standardized exams started. Okay. So I always kind of make a joke that this isn't really a joke. It's actually probably very true. But you can get to grade 3 by being cute and funny and white. You know what I mean? Here I am. But grade 3, all of a sudden, I had to do a lot of writing and a lot of reading, and I didn't like that. And so I learned very, very quickly that if I was funny or bad, I often got out of doing the things that I didn't want to do. So I'm going to kind of just give you a little synopsis of me as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, and I apologize if any of you have me as a child in your class or in your family. So the day was March 17th. And I remember this day because this day is
St. Patrick's
Day. Yes, very good. And same in Canada. So St. Patrick's Day, March in Alberta. Okay, so it's cold and there's weather, a lot of weather. And we had, is that your birthday suit? Amazing. We were in a portable, which those the buildings that are disconnected from the main school, which means that if you're in a portable, they have their own heating and cooling systems, right? They're not connected. So you have to, we were taught day 1 that windows and doors need to be sealed because then the elements get in, it's just a mess, okay? We learned to layer because it's usually too hot when it's supposed to be cold and too cold when it's, we get it. So March 17th, we go to school, we walk into the portable and we are horrified because we walk in and the cloakroom is filled with snow. And we're like, oh no. Someone left a window or a door open. I'm like, someone's going to be in so much trouble. And so we walk into the room and we come around the wall and right beside my desk, the window is wide open. And I'm like, come on. I know it looks like I did it, but it wasn't me. I swear it. It's not me. I did not leave the window open. But then when you look closer at the classroom, every desk was upside down, except for mine. And they were covered in green footprints. And I'm like, it wasn't me. It was the leprechauns.
Oh my God.
Leprechauns.
Yeah.
Right?
Those leprechauns are sneaky.
They're sneaky. And so this was the only day of my entire schooling career that I was popular because I helped the leprechauns get in. And no, honestly, the leprechauns totally framed me. And the whole day was us trying to find the leprechauns that left the window open. It was brilliant. We had so much fun. And now that I'm an educator, I know that bless this teacher who probably stayed at school till 1 a.m. to make this happen for us. Do you know what I mean? There were pots of rainbows, pots of gold, rainbows. It was the greatest day of our life. Okay. And I felt popular that day. So, just imagine the scenario, okay? And then the door opens. And I could tell by the squeak. I was like, not today. Not today. And around the corner comes a lady who I don't know. First problem, She's like, hi, I'm here to see Shelly Moore. And I'm like, she's absent. She's not here all week. It didn't work. This lady was pulling me out. And I'm like, you
No.
to be kidding me. You're going to pull me out on the greatest day of my life. Well, I may not be very good at reading, but I am very good at being stubborn and pouting. So we leave the portable, we go into the main school, orange carpets, like brown tables, like the full 80s. We go into the small little room in the office.
The leprechauns weren't there, right?
What's that?
The leprechauns were not there.
The leprechauns were not there. I go into the tiny room with no windows. We sit down and this lady wants me to do a writing sample. I'm like, you just took me away from what I wanted, what like the greatest day, and you want me to work on the thing that I hate doing the most. Like, you're out of your mind. There's no way. And so she's just like, come on, Shelly, you can do it. And the thing about like strategies and approaches to support students who are struggling in the 80s, the only strategy we were given was
Try harder
and just think about it more. Just think about it. And I'm like, you think about it. I'm so mad. I'm like, I'm not writing. No, forget it. So she's getting frustrated and she's just like, Shelly, you love telling stories. Why don't you write a story? And I'm like, how about I tell you a story? Like, no, let me go back to the leprechauns. So then she's getting frustrated and then she makes a big mistake. She's like, Shelly, here's the thing. You think about it. I'm going to go to the washroom. And she leaves me alone in the
Oh, no, that's a terrible idea.
No, because there's a rotary telephone on the table that I only know how to use because we had one in our house. And in my defense, I think we teach a lot of children to do this when they feel like they're in trouble. So I think what anyone would do is no. I called 911 and I was like, I am in a room alone with a stranger. She's trying to get me to do things that I don't want to do. Like, please, I need help. This is why I remember this so vividly. And then the woman on the phone got really serious and I got scared. And then I hung up the phone and I remember just sitting there in the room.
They'll find you. You can't.
Oh yeah, because it was all really quiet. And then I started to hear the commotion outside the door. I opened the door. The administrators are like, someone called 911. I'm like, it wasn't me. It was the leprechauns.
The leprechauns.
It wasn't me. Friends, they all came. Police, fire department, ambulance. If Canada had FBI, they would have come too. But you know what? It worked. I got to go back to the leprechauns. I mean, I got a stern talking to.
Positive reinforcement.
Totally. I got a stern talking to about severity of trouble. But I was like, you know what? I got to go back and I did not have to write. So this was my life. Like, I was always like, trouble followed me, but I was never trying to be like manipulative. I hear these words, manipulative, trying to get under her skin, push buttons. I was just trying to get out of a situation that I didn't want to be in or I knew I wouldn't be successful in, right?
You're a problem solver.
I'm right. This is exactly what happened. And so, you gotta go back one slide. Okay. So this was exactly it. But the thing about elementary school is that at least I had a cohort, right? At least I had a community and I felt really well liked by my teachers and my peers. So like when we talk about belonging, I did feel a sense of belonging. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I had a base. Then I had to go to junior high school. Now I go from having one class and one teacher who know me to having like 7 teachers and hundreds of kids who don't know me at all. And grade 7 was so awful. It was so awful. This is the year that I already know, because the grade 3 was the year that I was diagnosed as having a learning disability, a little sprinkle of ADHD on there. And so when I go to grade 7, I already know that I'm a little disabled. This is also the year that I get a little chubby. It's also the year that I realize I might be a little gay. And in a very conservative province that I lived in, this was pretty much like a nightmare trifecta. And I was bullied to a pulp, right? And just like the strategy for learning in the 80s was just try harder, the strategy for bullying in the 80s was we didn't see it. And so this is what happened, and it was absolutely awful. I always show this picture to capture myself in grade 7, because when I look at this picture, I just see the saddest kid. Like, I'm smiling because someone told me to. I am hiding behind my hair. Like, my eyes just look tired. Like, I look at this and I just get so sad for this kid, right? I stopped going to school in grade 7. My mom didn't even know because nobody noticed that I wasn't there. I was marked here. I was marked present. And it kind of came to a head. I was watching volleyball in the gym at lunchtime, and someone put a firecracker in my ear. And I turned, thank goodness, because it fell out. But it burnt my shirt. I burnt my neck, lose partial hearing on my left side. And it was just like this point where I'm just like, I don't matter to anybody. My mommy is so mad. She's going to the principal and being like, what are you going to do about this? And he's like, well, we didn't see it. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm a Leo. I'm going to take matters into my own hands. So I did what I think anyone would do. I beat up my bully. I'm like, see you later, bully. No, this is not how I roll. But because there was no anti-bullying campaigns, but there was
Anti-fighting rules.
Absolutely zero tolerance fighting policies. And so then I get expelled. Now, I remember when I was in the office when this was happening, and I was sitting in the chairs in the office, and I wasn't in the room with my mom and the principal. All I hear was what was said when they came out, and I'll never forget it because the door opened. My mom comes out. The principal says to my mom, I'm sorry, but I just don't think we can meet Shelly's needs in this school. And I was thrilled. I was like, see ya later. I am out. I am never going back. My mom turned just like lost all color in her face. And it was really conflicting for me because I'm just like, I'm happy, but my mom is not very happy. And I was confused. And she goes to him. She's like, what do you mean she can't go? This is her school. This is her neighborhood. This is her peer group. What do you mean? What do you mean? Where's she gonna go? And I'm like, Ma, it's okay. Let's go. Come on.
We'll find a
before they
place.
change their mind. And we go in the car, we're driving home. And she's like, like when you're in the car and your parents are mad, but you don't really know why. And my mom is mad, and she's just like, her hands are like, knuckles are white. And I'm like, I'm just going to say sorry just to cover the bases. I mean, just in case. And I'm like, Mom, I'm really sorry. She slams on the brakes, pulls over her car. She's like, this is not your fault. This is not you. You have done nothing wrong here. She's like, I'm not mad at you. And I'm like, oh, I feel like you are, but I'm just going to go with it. And so my mom's a single mom. She doesn't have time for this, right? Okay, don't turn the slide yet, because I'm going to tell you what happened next.
Okay.
So this was like in April. Okay, so I have an extra long summer. I am pumped. What I don't know is that behind the scenes, my mom is trying to get me into a different school, right? And what I don't know is that there's a new school being built, brand new school being built. And the nice thing about new schools is they don't have the history, and they don't have to deal with we've always done it this way, right? So some of our most innovative educational experiences are in brand new schools. And this school was no different. So this school was the first school in Alberta that was designed as a middle school. Now, I didn't know the difference between a junior high and a middle school at the time, right? But what this middle school was designed for was aligned to the research methods for kids between the ages of 11 and 14. And if you work with kids between the ages of 11 and 14, they're not just small high school students, which is what junior high really has become in many places. Like kids during that age group, they're figuring out their identity. They need their community, their friends are everything. And so they structured this whole school around student-centered based on research for that age range. So just some examples of some things. We had diverse class students, grades 7, 8, 9 were all together. And because community was important, our cohort stayed together and subject area experts came to us. Something so simple, but we had our home base. That was our space. There was no special education department. The groups were already diverse by age. And so for the first time, there were kids with disabilities who were more complex than mine, right? This was the Apple's first technology site in Canada. So we had access to technology, which was a game changer for me. And even though I don't have TikTok, maybe I'll get on that. Yep. And what else did they have? Everything was project project oriented. You could show your learning in any way. UDL was the center. Teachers got released for collaborative time every week to work together. We were in teams like Hogwarts, but like the names were less cool. We were the blue team. Like they really centered it. And I'm going to tell you, I went from hating school. I'm going to show you my grade 8 photo. You ready? Okay, show them my grade 8 photo. Look at me. Look at my cute little cheeks. Look at my little chin. So
And like chin up.
Chin up. You know I'm wearing MC Hammer pants with that floral vest because we feel like $1 million. And I know so many people had that vest. And you feel so good in that vest. This is the first year I cut my hair, right? So I'm starting to kind of figure out my own identity. I felt so good. I felt so good. I felt successful. You know that research that says, can every kid name 2 adults who they feel care for them? I could name you 10. Like that, they just sound so, we were the middle of everybody's world. I didn't want to leave. I stayed after school. I went early. I couldn't get enough of the school. My mom asked me, she's like, you know, do you like your new school? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, why? You've never said that before. And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm a teenager. But I did say this, and I remember I said, why did I have to go to any other school? And I think this really kind of gets me to this place about why this is important to me, because I think that this story is the story of so many families where in order for kids to finally get what they need, they have to not just fail. They have to actually navigate crisis and trauma. My grade 7 year was traumatic. It was awful. And for me to be able to finally be seen, to finally have access to what I needed, I had to get expelled. I had to fail all of my courses. And I'm like, why did I have to go through that experience to get this experience? And I think that when I look at what really drives me today, I'm just like, nobody, whether you're a kid or a family or a teacher or an administrator, no one should have to go through crisis and trauma to get to what they need. And so this to me, if you go to the next slide, I asked myself, what made this different? So here's my class. There they are. We're the blue team. I asked my class, I asked myself, what made this different for me as an adult, right? And I'm like, okay, well, definitely community. I had the first sense of identity I'd ever experienced. Everything was based on relationships and support. Learning was open-ended. We could show our learning in any way. Like we built a Mars society in the gym. Like everything was project, hands-on, project learning. Diverse. They assumed the diversity instead of seeing diversity as a burden. They assumed it from the start that all the kids would be different. And they forced themselves into that model by actually even creating cross-grade groupings. It also gave kids extra time to meet standards, right? And it made it this glimpse of inclusion for me. And with this glimpse of inclusion, when you see this, you can't unsee this. So someone asked if this was a small school. It wasn't a small school. It just was one of many, right? And this is where actually a really good point, because when I started to reflect on what made this school different, the question that I had was why is this school the exception to the rule? There were hundreds of junior highs and one middle school. Why is this school? Why is this an exception? Every school could be built on these principles. Nothing here is innovative. But the part that's that got me is that people couldn't handle the change, Katie. They couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle it because you know what? We still had standardized tests, and you know what? We did really well. We did really, really well. We did so well in sports. We did so well on exams. They couldn't handle it. People thought we were getting an unfair advantage in this school. Other schools couldn't handle it. The principal was forced out. And within 4 years, my school turned into a junior high. What? You know, parents were like, why don't they have homework? Why aren't they doing spelling tests? The parents couldn't handle it. The teachers couldn't handle it. from other schools, right? Like, so us as a cohort, and when I talked, because I'm still in contact with my teachers from those days because it was revolutionary, and they were just like, it was so devastating because we put our heart and souls into this and no one could see the good. They could only see and look for what's wrong because it would mean that it would force other people to change. It's devastating. My brother went there 4 years later and he hated it because he struggled like me, right? And so like this, and I know it's devastating, and I'm telling you this incredible story, and I'm so lucky that I got into this window, but I'm just like, okay, now let's zoom out. Why didn't this work? Why couldn't this be sustained?